Hello everyone, it's Kirian here with a short tutorial segment. As I continue to post more videos of my projects, I would like to make the effort to do a short segment at the end on my journey creating the video you just watched. I know that there's a lot of you out there watching that are young, aspiring filmmakers like myself, and I've always found it helpful when a content creator goes out of their way to make a behind-the-scenes clip. I want to gain in some practice before I move into some larger projects I have planned, so I thought that it would be cool to experiment different techniques by recreating scenes from some of my favorite movies. This is also one of the best ways to learn about filmmaking. You watch a scene and study why it works, and then try to recreate it. One of my favorite scenes in the Hobbit trilogy was when Bilbo spares Gollum instead of killing him. This is such a powerful scene and one of the best in the whole entire trilogy. A perfect scene, I thought, to practice conveying emotion in small movements. So first of all, I had to build Gollum's cave. This I thought was going to be super complicated because there were just so many ways that I could do this, but considering that I don't have much Lego to work with and budget is somewhat limited for me right now, I had to get creative with basically what I have. So to save money on Lego, I decided to use real rocks rather than Lego brick ones. It looks better in my opinion, and as long as I keep buildings, weapons, and figures Lego, it's not a terrible creative choice. For the floor base, I actually used brown clay mixed with some splotches of gray. It just gives this muddy yet rocky terrain. I know that I could have used a normal Lego base, but clay in my opinion just gives the figures a better range of movement, rather than to be restricted to a stud pattern. The clay is also sticky, so the figures are less likely to fall while animating. The clay that I used was Pastanilla. I hope that I pronounced that right, which is a clay specifically used by animators. It's actually pretty affordable, and you don't have to worry about it rubbing the paint off your Lego figures, so that's a plus. And I even used this clay to help me place Bilbo in his jumping position when he escaped from Gollum. And you can use this clay for many other things when animating that you normally wouldn't be able to do otherwise. To give this clay floor of the cave texture, it was actually pretty simple. I just got one of the rocks I used for the base and I used its texture as a mold stamp. The rocks themselves I actually just picked up from outside my house. And for added detail, I scattered some small stones and some fake moss I bought from the craft store. And voila, we have Gollum's cave. If you notice, I added a few Lego plants amongst the rocks just to give it a more Lego feel. For lighting, I actually just used my desk lamps and a flashlight for the blue tint. I hope to move to a more advanced lighting system in the future, but since this is a dark, gloomy cave, it's really not as important here. Animating this short went relatively quick. I spent about 7 hours over the weekend, which is pretty short compared to a few of my other projects. Normally, I would have used Stop Motion Studio as my main source for taking pictures, but I found the camera quality was a tad better in settings when it came to just using my normal phone camera. I have an actual camera, but it's not as good with capturing a large amount of pictures at one time, and it's actually a bit of a hassle to transmit all those photos off of my camera to my computer, so just using my phone camera was just an easier solution. The actual animating process was trial and error. There's really no right or wrong way to do this. You just gotta be patient. You gotta find your creative flow for the characters. Every animator has their own style, and if you, like myself, are struggling to find yours, just keep practicing and trust it'll come with some time. Luckily, this particular scene was pretty basic in movements, although I could copy this scene beat to beat. That doesn't mean that there wouldn't be problems with it translating well for Lego figures. For me, I found some of the best Lego stop motion projects that I've personally seen were ones that had a more cartoony approach with its animation rather than realistic. For this animation, I went with 15 frames per second. It's the slowest frame rate that looks the most fluid, and if you're somewhat of a beginner like me, it's really the best option to go. And it's better to go at a steady pace and not jump into larger scopes when you're just a beginner. And not as well known with advanced features. I did this whole entire project in a span of the weekend, and I am very proud of how it turned out. The cave looks way better than I thought that it would initially, and I think I absolutely nailed the look from the movie. One of my favorite shots in this project was the shot of the cave exit with the light shining through. Although this looks like it might have been done digitally, this is actually a pretty simple practical effect. I did this by cutting out a piece of paper to a jagged edge and sticking it with some clay onto a flashlight. And after editing and color grading was finished, it just turned out to be a very good effect.